Before the review starts, quick shout out to Grumpy Librarian. Thank you very much. I asked anybody an open invitation to reply to a Muslim who'd posted quite a considerable challenge on a source of morality, and I said I would give a shout out to whoever would reply first. Grumpy Librarian, thank you for replying to that buffoon. I do appreciate it. It saved me from having to do the job. You probably did it better than I could have done. So thank you. Okay, on with the review. Hello, my name's Stuart. I'm the Unrepentant Atheist. This is my channel where I offer reaction and commentary on call-in shows, on conversion stories, and many things which are related to Christianity, religion, religious claims, etc. So I'm going to offer some commentary on this particular call. Scott's calling in on the 24th of March 2024 on the line, speaking to Matt Dillahunty and Magical Skeptic. He's called in to say that he's seen a soul, or he believes that he's seen a soul, and this was a ball of light. And he knows that it was a soul because he found out that exactly at the moment that he saw this ball of light, a relative had died at that precise time, and he's concluded that therefore this must have been a soul. The conversation has gone on for some time, and we're getting to the conclusion of it, but he's just asserted that the soul must be this ball of light is energy, and Magic Skeptic have said, yeah, but the soul is supposed to be immaterial, how could it be energy? And now Scott is going to explain. I will just also say that Scott has actually come onto the show, first of all put forward that he is a double doctorate in science subject. So we're going to come on to that in a moment, but let's hear what he's got to say about this thing about the energy.
Well, having observed what I observed, I would describe it as an indestructible point of super energetic fundamental particles, which we have neither the understanding nor the methodology of measurement.
Okay, but if you don't understand what it is, how can you say that it's energy?
What are your 2 PhDs in?
I have actually I have a DSc in atmospheric physics, a PhD in planetary system dynamics.
Atmospheric physics. I believe that's all to do with weather forecasting. As for the other subject, I think it's to do with the like the planets in the solar system and the position of the planets, etc., and all the science to do with regarding that. But the point is, Matt asked him, and he said what he's got.
Cool.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't have left it at that. I wouldn't have accepted it. I would have wanted to know more information, because he's come onto the show. He's said what his credentials are. They're quite powerful credentials, if true. And I think that more questions should be asked. Where did you gain those credentials? What was your thesis? In other words, what was the topic? What were you trying to prove? And what was your conclusion? Where can we find your theses? At ResearchGate or somewhere else? Where have you published? Because anybody who's got 2 doctorates has certainly published in peer-reviewed journals. I would want this information and more questions besides that, because anybody could come on and say, now, I'm not saying that him having credentials makes a difference one way or the other, because we know that even Einstein, if it happened that Einstein was a theist, which he wasn't, but let's supposing he was, him being probably the greatest scientist, one of the greatest scientists who ever lived, with a Nobel Prize, etc., theory of relativity, that doesn't mean that he's right about his belief in God, unless he can demonstrate it to the satisfaction of the world of science. And it's universally agreed and peer-reviewed that yes, this is right. Einstein has proven that God exists. It's just his opinion, his belief is of no more value than a high school student, really. And so credentials don't really matter. They only matter if you're coming onto the show and putting them forward as if they do matter. And then to find out if he's telling the truth or not, I think he should be interrogated to an extent where he provides sufficient evidence that he really has got these credentials. Because I think that people are coming on pretending to have credentials that they haven't got, just to give themselves some kind of authority. It's the same as coming on, and actually I believe that he's come on and also said that he's an atheist, and yet he believes in this soul because he's seen this ball of light. That's something that I'm very doubtful. Do you know how many people I get on my channel saying, "Oh, Stuart, I was an atheist just like you," or "I am an atheist and I believe this or I believe that," and it's all points in favor of Christianity. People will lie to promote their religion or to promote their belief in the supernatural. Okay, let's continue.
If somebody came to you and said that they've concluded that souls exist and that souls are indestructible energy that you can see separate from the physical body, and that their proof of this is that they, while laying in bed, relaxed, saw this at a time that seems to stop fucking interrupting me. Saw this at a time that corresponds. Interrupt me one more time, Scott. I dare you. Let me finish my fucking thought, and then you'll get to speak again.
You know, whenever somebody says stop swearing, or you won't let me finish, or any of these things, it's a red flag. It's a red flag that it's a troll, or it's a red flag that it's somebody that is just full of it.
That their sole evidence for this was that they witnessed something that corresponded with the death of a loved one. Would you say that that is in any way a good foundation to conclude that the soul exists, is real, is indestructible, and that they witnessed one?
I didn't say it was conclusive, and I didn't say it was proof. You're putting words in my mouth.
I didn't say conclusive or proof. Stop putting words in my mouth, you fucking liar. I didn't use those.
Now, okay, I believe that some in chat and some in the comments have said that Matt did say proof. So it looks like he was wrong about that, but okay, that's a side issue.
Words. No, I didn't.
Oh, hey. Watch your language, buddy.
You don't tell me what to do with. Interrupt me one more time, Scott. I dare you. Let me finish my fucking thought, and then you'll get to speak again. That their sole evidence for this was that they witnessed something that corresponded with the death of a loved one. Would you say that that is in any way a good foundation to conclude that the soul exists, is real, is indestructible, and that they witnessed one?
I didn't say it was conclusive, and I didn't say it was proof. You're putting words in my mouth.
I didn't say conclusive or proof. Stop putting words in my mouth. Okay,
well, Matt didn't say conclusive, but he said proof, and I think by that he only meant that not 100% certainty, but that there was evidence for, or sufficient evidence to believe this claim. I don't really think that it was a point making a big deal out of.
Mouth, you fucking liar. I didn't use those words. No, I didn't.
Oh, hey. Watch your language, buddy.
You don't tell me what to do with my fucking language ever, fucker.
Yeah, watch your language.
How about you? I'm gonna give you one more opportunity to interact with Dara. Just because I want to be courteous to my guest in case there's anything to add. But tell me to watch my fucking language again, and you'll be fucking banned from the fucking show, you dishonest motherfucker who suggested I said proof when I didn't say proof. You're back to Dara. I'll leave this alone now.
Okay, well, in actual fact, that was the end of the conversation because he hung up or he disappeared, and there's no more of Scott. He just vanished, probably like that ball of light which he supposedly saw. And the thing about the proof, yes, okay, Matt did say proof, and the principle behind what Scott is saying is that he believes that he saw the soul, and that for him sufficient evidence was that he saw this ball of light, and that it coincided down to the last second with this death, and that is his evidence to support the existence of the soul, and then he made claims about the nature of it. So really, there was no point. There was no need for Matt to say, deny that he said proof. He did actually say proof, but he didn't mean it in an absolute sense, of course. And I just felt that it's a pity that that particular point, which was fairly irrelevant, derailed the whole thing, and then it all collapsed. But yeah, okay. So we see this a lot from people who believe in the soul, or they believe in the supernatural, because there are two events. One is they saw something, and then something happened at exactly the same time or around about the same time, and they connect the two and they draw a conclusion from it. Now, my own mother, when I was 12 years old, there was a knock at the door early in the morning. It was my uncle. We opened the door. We were surprised to see him because he didn't really show up at that time of the day. And he said, "Jim's dead." Now, Jim was a friend of the family. He was a partner of my grandmother, actually. He was about 70 odd years old. Nice old man. He died in his bed in the middle of the night. My uncle had come to inform us. It was sad, etc., etc. Anyway, a few days later, I was sitting with my mother having a cup of tea, watching television or something, and she said to me, "Do you know what happened to me that night that Jim died?" I said, "What?" She said, "Well, I was in the bed. Your dad was next to me. It was dark and it felt very cold. And I suddenly saw a figure at the foot of the bed. He was tall, just like Jim, and he stood just like him as well. And it was, I don't know, 2:30 in the morning or thereabouts. And I said, 'Well, my dad was next to you. Why didn't you nudge him and wake him up if you were scared? Or there was somebody there?' And she said she was petrified, and she just pulled the blanket over her head. And then when she, a minute later, pulled the blanket down, this figure had disappeared." Okay, so she told me this and I remembered it. And I think she really honestly believed that she had seen this figure and that it was some kind of warning that Jim had died. And the only thing about it is, and I never said this to her, is that, "Mum, that would have been a much more impressive story if you'd come to me in the morning before my uncle knocked on the door and said, 'I saw Jim in the middle of the night at the foot of the bed. I think something terrible may have happened to him.' And then my uncle knocked on the door and said, 'Oh, Jim's died.' I would have found that really quite memorable and impressive. But when we hear these stories, it's always after the fact that there's a death or there's something happens, an accident, and people look back and they pull something out of their memory and they kind of, I'm not saying they make it up or they fabricate it, but maybe they might have seen something at some time in the night and they think, 'Oh, did it happen at that time?' Yeah, actually it was about that time, exactly when he died. And they convince themselves that this was actually true. No, I don't think my mum was lying. This guy probably wasn't lying either. Maybe he did see something. The reality is maybe it wasn't at that particular time. I don't know how he could be certain it was at that time. He says it was at the exact time, but the truth is that when he found out, we didn't hear in the story that he didn't explain what the exact evidence was that the times were the same. It seems really strange that when he saw this ball of light that he noted down the exact time down to the second when it had happened, and he kept that. And then when he found out this person had died, he went and he found out the exact time of death. He looked at the two. Oh no, that doesn't sound very realistic at all. You don't, in the middle of the night, if you see something, you don't write down the exact time and look at the clock. That doesn't really sound very plausible. But even if it is, and even if it did happen down to the last second, it could just be an absolute coincidence. And he says that he can't prove it, but on the other hand, he believes it. If he can't prove it, why does he believe it? Okay, I think I've had my say. I don't know what to think about this character. I don't really believe that he's got a double PhD. I would have challenged him, and it's irrelevant because he's talking about somebody, his standards for believing in something which is so important and central to everything we know, that there is a soul that survives death, and he's prepared to accept that on such poor standards of evidence. And he's supposed to be somebody with 2 doctorates, 2 postgraduate degrees, and we know how rigorous postgraduate degrees are, or at least are supposed to be, with peer review, methodologies, etc. And it's very, very difficult to prove anything, and yet he's prepared to believe this supernatural thing on really such flimsy evidence, and I really don't believe his story. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are. Bye for now.